Started. Hey everybody, welcome. Happy Saturday. It's time to talk about practicing guitar, one of my favorite subjects, one of my favorite things to do. Actually, it's literally my favorite thing to do. People ask me, Rick, do you want to play gigs? Do you want to produce other people or everything? I said, no, I just want to practice the guitar. Or practice the piano or practice the drums, whatever. I love practicing because I want to get better. And I continue to want to get better. Anyways, just a couple announcements. My new quick lessons course, which was out last Saturday. This is the end of the first week. I'm going to run it through the weekend. QLP, Quick Lessons Pro 50 is the discount code. It's 50% off through the weekend. So tomorrow and Monday, and that's it. And then discount code for the Beato book. And for a Beato Book bundle, which is my Beato Book YouTube transcription bundle, and the that's 60% off. Discount code RB626 today's date, and the ear training is 40% off. Discount code RB626, same thing, 40% off for that. So people are always asking me, what should I do to practice? Well, since I came up with this Quick Lessons Pro, this is a great thing for you to practice. Take these little concepts that I introduce in these 1-minute practice ideas and work on them. And in the course, I talk about kind of how I develop these ideas. So I'm going to kind of go over how I like to start practicing in the morning and how I come up with these kinds of ideas to practice. Because basically, these are concepts that I'm showing you, but they're also things that I like to practice. You guys know I'll practice over a static pad. I don't necessarily like to practice just straight up and down scales and things like that. I've done it plenty of times. You guys should have these things under your fingers, no question about it. You should be able to play every major scale everywhere in the guitar. Okay, there's basically 5 positions to play your scales. I'll go over them really quickly. Let's say we have G major. I'm holding the guitar weirdly so you can see it. So what I like to do is take every area of the guitar and work on them. So I take every available note. I'd start on F sharp. Take every available note of G major and play it. Then go up here and include every note. Then go up to the 7th position. Then go up to the 10th position here, or the 9th position, really. And then go up to the position starting at E, which is what I would call the 6th position. So basically, I like to practice my major scales in a pentatonic scale. Right? Because that will give you all the notes, all the positions. Yeah, you can say, well, what about all the modes? Well, all the modes are contained in there. The idea is to cover the fingerboard in that scale, whatever scale it is, so that you know. If you're playing over a D minor chord and you're playing Dorian, right? You're playing all the notes of C major. With the idea of the tonic being D, you want to kind of come back to that D and resolve back to it. But really, in order to do that, you still have to know where all the notes of C major are, okay? You got to know where all the arpeggios are. So these are the kinds of things I like to work on. I like to take static chords to start out and practice, where I'll play it on my keyboard. Everybody says, well, how do you get the sound that you put behind your chords or behind your solo things you do? On my Instagram post, I just play it on the keyboard. And I have a sustain pedal here, so let's say I'll play a chord like this. So there's my chord that I practice over. So I'm playing a D minor 11 chord. You can play D minor 13, D minor, whatever you want. I like D minor 11. It's cool. It's a great sounding chord. So I play it. I'm holding my sustain pedal down, right? And I'll just start taking basic ideas and I'll take a concept. Like maybe I'll do something, let's say, look for, how about a 10 note grouping or something? So this would just be a concept. I like odd note groupings to practice, but 10 notes is kind of weird because it's a lot of notes. So let's say I take a D minor chord. This could be my quick lesson. 10 note groupings are cool to use. Well, okay, let me figure out a 10 note grouping then. So in D minor, this could be a 10 note grouping. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so what am I doing here? I just take a D minor pentatonic scale right here. It's tricky to play with a guitar angled like this. This is even higher than I normally do, but I think it's easy for you guys to see. Billy, is it easy for them to see?
Yeah, I can see the full neck right there.
Okay, cool. So I'm thinking of this D minor pentatonic right here at the 10th fret. But then I'm going to this same position. I'm really big into repeatable finger shapes, right? 1, 4, 1, 3, move up the octave. 1, 4, 1, 3, move up the octave. 1, 4, 1, 3. As opposed to staying. Then I'd have to go. Or I'd have to go. I could do it like that, but this is more easy to play the same shapes, right? Now at the end, the thing about the pentatonic scale is that there are no half steps in it. So it doesn't have that much melodic interest unless you put half steps in it, right? Yeah. That's why you play blues notes, right? If I play D minor pentatonic, right? If I'm just playing, doesn't really have much tension, but just by putting in that, that note's a great note, half step. So that's where those cool notes come in, or where those half steps are, right? That are dissonant, that are out of the pentatonic scale. So you can play you can also play the flat 9. I love the flat 9. That's cool. People don't really think about in that minor pentatonic. I don't hang on that note, but if you use it as a passing note to the ear, it sounds like a cool blues note. It has a very melancholy sound. Right? Let me go back to my 10 note pattern though. Okay, so now right there, the reason that I added that note in there is because that's where you get your emotion from. The notes like the 9th. Or the 13th. Right? There's the 9th. Beautiful, right? Those 9ths, the 13ths, the flat 9s, the flat 5s. Those are your notes that give you that tension and release, that gives your playing emotion, you know, that these are kind of these modal sounds, if you will, right? Or the blues, that the flat 5. So getting back to these odd note groupings, so that might be something that I practice there, is that. And then I came right down the pentatonic hero. So I'm playing 6th here. But the an idea like that is that's something that I would explore. Then I would say, okay, well, can you move that shape around and play it over the same chord, but in a different key, so you get different notes? Well, what if I played it here? You could. So that's just using a different pentatonic scale, right? And that's a different pentatonic scale there. That's A minor pentatonic. So. You want to always keep in mind those things. Like, I always try to resolve these ideas to complete the phrase. I come to a good note like that, the root, the 5th, something like that. But what I did there was I took the pentatonic scale based off the 5th of the chord. So you get D minor pentatonic, A minor pentatonic off the 5th. That gives you the 9th of the chord. That gives you the 5th, flat 7, root, 9th. So if you combine just those two pentatonic scales, right, the D minor and A minor, D minor, A minor. You can also do the pentatonic scale on the 2nd. So E minor pentatonic would work too. That's got the upper extensions. It has the 9th, the 11th, the root, and the 13, right? And the 5th. Better to use those in the upper position. So those 3 pentatonic scales right there. So that's another thing that I just was improvising with. I played different triads. F major, C major, D sus4, right? Really anthemic sounding. F major, C major, D sus. Love that sound. F major, C major, D sus2, for these kind of things to practice, right? To improvise over. Take an idea, develop it for 10 minutes or so. See if you can use that same shape in a different scale, right? So I took that 10-note grouping. I used it in D minor, A minor, and E minor pentatonic. Same shape, same fingering shape. I just moved it around, okay? These are the kind of things that are in my quick lessons thing, except it goes way, way beyond that. I have, I think there's 28 different lessons in it. I mean, some of the lessons are 30 minutes long, where I go into the theory behind this and really do the extended, get into the extended concepts. What is the theory behind it? What are the techniques behind it? And how do you apply it to your own playing? How do you develop your own ideas with this? By the way, QLP 50 is the discount code for that. So it's 50% off my Quick Lessons Pro course for the rest of the weekend. And then RB626, 60% off my Beato book bundle. If you already have the Quick Lessons Pro, check that out. Or my ear training, which is 40% off, which is RB626. So developing your ear, right? So it's like you work on these things to practice. You do some ear training. Your ear training would consist of maybe intervals, working in your intervals. You can do it on your instrument, your guitar, your piano, whatever it is. You can use my ear training course, whatever. You want to practice these kind of things. Or you want to figure out a song. So I just did this video this week. There was a huge video that I was talking about a song called Never Gonna Let You Go. Now, it's kind of a cheesy song from the 80s. It came out in 1983, but I talked about how I tried to learn this song from memory for a gig. And my buddy Smitty, we're first day of our rehearsal. I tell the story about this, and this girl brings it in. Oh yeah, it's a #1 song, and so we're thinking, oh well, how hard can this be, right? And all of a sudden we hear the intro, and it's like, okay, yeah, we got that. Then the intro ends on F sharp major, and then the verse starts on G minor. It's like, okay. Then as it keeps going, the song keeps modulating. Now, if I knew the song, if I had heard it more than hearing it the first time, then I could use my relative pitch and I could go around and I would be able to, I can hear what all the voicings are. I can hear the sounds, the shapes of them. Like the bridge is like, so those are the chords in the bridge there. Now, so when I was listening to it, before I made the video, I hear this. I hear E flat minor, so I know it's a minor 7. Then I know it's minor 7th with the 7th in the bass. Then I know it's a first inversion major chord to a third inversion dominant chord, okay, to a minor 7 to a third inversion dominant chord, moving down a half step. So what I'm doing here is I'm analyzing the root movement. Bum, 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 bum. Or da da da, then do do do. I can recognize those intervals there, and I know the chord qualities because I can recognize this is a minor 7th chord. And once I know what the root note is, if I know it's E flat, then I know, okay, I have the flat 7 in the bass, then a first inversion major chord, third inversion dominant chord. These all have a very particular sound that if you practice, you can just recognize them instantly. They become part of your vocabulary of recognized sounds. I always talk about that when I talk about ear training. And this is one of the things that you want to keep practicing every day, is to just keep increasing that vocabulary of the sounds that you recognize. Even if it's just basic major and minor chords, or if it's major add 9 chords or minor add 9 chords, because there's always going to be some twist. Doesn't matter how complex the songs are. Typically, songs will have something in them. If you hear this chord, right? Let's say I play this. Some people say, oh, that's Alex Lifeson chord there. Well, yeah, and that's part of your, if you know what that chord is and you hear that, you're like, oh, that's the Alex Lifeson chord. Then you just go to it, you know the shape and you play it, right? It's a dominant 7, add 4. That's the name of that chord. But it happens to be F sharp 7, add 4, right? But your ear, when you hear that, for those of you that are my age, you hear that and you're like, oh yeah, that's the Alex Lifeson chord. Well, that's part of your vocabulary of recognized sounds. You know that sound. Billy, if you heard that sound chord, would you know that was Alex Lifeson?
Either that or Dream Theater, yeah.
Or Dream Theater. But that's where what your reference is. So Billy's reference is Rush or Dream Theater. He recognizes that chord voicing, right? And there's many really specific chords. Like if I'm playing like I think of The Police of Roxanne. That's the first chord the first chord. When I hear that, it's like, yeah, that's just G minor. That's Roxanne, right? So that's part of my lexicon of recognized sounds. And I don't have perfect pitch, but I've developed this stuff over so many years. I have this massive vocabulary of these things. So when I hear this, all I'm listening for is the bass line. I instantly recognize the chord quality. Minor 7 with the 7th in the bass, major triad in first inversion, dominant 7th chord in third inversion, minor 7th chord down a half step, dominant 7th chord in third inversion down a half step. That's what I'm thinking in my head, okay? It becomes really instant like that too, okay? This is what this practicing is. So after you do your quick lesson and you work on the idea with that, do a little ear training. Try and do it every day. Figure out a song that is new. Figure out a solo or have a solo that you're always working on, okay? Something that's a little bit beyond what your abilities are, okay? Something that introduces a new technique that you're not used to. Maybe it has a sweep in it or something, and you're like, well, I don't really do sweeps. Well, learn to do sweeps, right? Or hammer-ons from nowhere. Hammer-on from nowhere would be like, just hammering on, basically. That's a hammer-on from nowhere. So I'm playing I pick it once. Well, let me go down like this. I'm going. I'm just doing downstrokes, right? You can see it's very weird to hold the guitar like this. Okay, I went out of the screen there. Okay, so those are hammer-ons from nowhere, and maybe that is a technique that you're not used to, but you're going to get used to all these techniques if you go through my Quick Lessons Pro course because I do all these different things like that. And I show you how to use these ideas and everything. The thing about different articulations, hammer-ons, pull-offs, legato playing, hammer-ons from nowhere, sweeps, tapping, all these things have a different sound to them. And they create, there are things that you should be able to recognize by ear what it is. Like when you hear it, you should be like, oh, that's a hammer right there. They're not picking that. You should be able to recognize the difference between a hammered note and a picked note, right? That is, that's really important. Somebody asked, what is a sweep? What is a sweep, right? A sweep is when you play. So I'm going in one direction. So a sweep would be just basically you sweep down or sweep up like that. Or you can use just, that's a sweep there. So I'm sweeping down and then up picking. So right there, those sweeps are really handy. If you're going in one direction, it's better use of your natural motion to do that, right? You want to always try to go in a single direction. To alternate pick it, I mean, I will do alternate picking, right? Let's say I'm doing something like this, right? An arpeggio. I'm alternate picking that. But that's really not an efficient way to play. It's more efficient to play, right? There's no way I would go. That's about as fast as I could play that. But to sweep it, I can play it far, far faster, right? The downside of sweeping is that that sweeping has a particular can have a particular thinness to it. Okay, I like to find things like I like to use sweeps where it becomes impractical to do things, right? That if you want to play at a certain tempo, the only way you can get around it is by playing a sweep. And that's where I think that those things actually sound good to the ear. But if it gets to a slightly slower tempo, then I'll go to alternate picking, because to me, alternate picking has a very particular sound. One of my really good friends, Phil X, is an incredibly good alternate picker, right? And when he plays, he articulates the notes so cleanly, and they have such a fat sound that it's very powerful. He plays the bouzouki, and that's how he developed that really, really strong alternate picking sound. Okay. And it has a very powerful thing to it. If you watch the video that we did with Eric Johnson, where I redid the Stairway to Heaven solo, Phil does came out the day before Eddie Van Halen passed away, and Phil did an impression of what he thought Eddie Van Halen would have played on Stairway to Heaven, and you can see his picking hand in action like that, and how relaxed it is, how powerful it is, right? So these are the things that you want to really get good at. You want to always be practicing things that you don't know, right? I always say, practice what you don't know, not what you know. Or don't practice what you know, practice what you don't know. Don't work on things that you're already good at, all right? Because then you can't really, you won't improve your playing quickly like that, okay? So try to master things quickly and then move on to new things. Billy, do we have some questions here?
We do.
Okay, let's hear them.
I can't pronounce that. It's Russian.
Okay.
Hi, Rick. What computer do you use for recording? Any specs? What's the most important piece of hardware?
What computer do I use for recording? So I have an iMac in the control room, an older one that I use. It's got 16 gigs of RAM. No. It's got 64 gigs of RAM. I mean, it's an older computer. It's probably, 3 years old or something like that, Billy?
Yeah.
Something like that, 3-4 years old. And I have two Apollo interfaces. I have an 8-channel Apollo and a 16-channel Apollo. So I have 24 ins and outs. And then, so that's what I use. And I use Pro Tools. Typically, I have Ableton. I have, why am I thinking of the Universal Audio one, Billy? What is it? Billy, what's the Universal Audio program?
Oh, Luna.
Luna. Jeez.
Was it Luma?
Yeah, so Luna I'll use Luna or Pro Tools, depending on if they've done an upgrade to Luna or not. And and I haven't upgraded whatever my operating system. I always am wary. Every time upgrades happen, wait till they're out for a few weeks before you upgrade. Just don't make that mistake. And I have Logic and I have Ableton. So I have all these different DAWs, and I'm a believer that you should really find one and master it. That's the thing. Decide on what you're going to use and master that program. When I say mastering it, I mean learn the key commands, all the key shortcuts. That's the best way for recording. So another question, Billy?
Disco Scotty, $5. Hey, Rick, what do you think of Puddles' Pity Party? My wife and I love him, going to see him live in Orlando.
I love Puddles. Puddles is a dear friend of mine, and he actually, we meet sometimes at our local Starbucks. He lives right near me. He's Puddles is amazing. Oh man, I love his singing, and he's super talented guy. It's funny that Puddles and I are buddies. But we literally go to this. we literally live really close to each other. I know that's pretty funny. We actually been talking about doing a song together, which we will do. That actually reminds me I need to reach out to Puddles because I haven't talked to him in a little bit, and we've been talking about doing a video together. So, anyways, anything else, Billy?
Robert Carey donated $5.
Thanks, Robert.
Then Bond Jetty Ranger 29 donated $5. Hey Rick, Joe Walsh said in an interview that you can't add Pro Tools in the drum groove of Rocky Mountain Way. It's all about the groove. Your thoughts?
I love Joe. That's my thoughts. Whatever Joe says, I say right on.
Casey McConnell donated $5 saying, "Hey Rick, I bought the piano book a week ago. It is slow going but great so far. Does your quick lessons have ear training practice built in?"
Quick Lessons does not really have ear training, except for the fact that your ear will get better because you're working on these things. You really got to do the ear training program to work on your ear. Or, if you don't do the ear training program, just work on transcribing every day. But you really need to practice with your ear every day. That needs to be part of your daily regimen. I don't care what. You want to get better at your instrument, whatever it is, you got to do ear training every day. Unless you have perfect pitch. And if you have perfect pitch, you definitely need to do ear training every day because eventually you lose perfect pitch once you hit about 50 years old. Your pitch will go off by half step. Anyways, all right, so I got to run. Discount code. Vincent, hold on. Let me answer this real quick. Rick, I'm starting courses. I'm wondering if there's an efficient way to learn how to build chords on guitar. Are there patterns that make it easy to learn? Chords are chords you have to memorize the chord shapes. As far as building them on the guitar, I mean, you have to understand where the notes of the chord are. Like, what is the root? What is the third? What is the fifth? So learning your guitar neck is very important. Learning intervals on the guitar is very important. If I play this, I know 1, 5, 3, right? 5, 3, 1, 1, 5, 3. I just know the sounds of those as I'm playing them, but I'm using my ear. My ear is telling me what those are. I don't need music theory to tell me what those are. Well, I need music theory because I have to know what the third and the fifth are, so I do need some music theory for that. Anyways, discount code. There's 2 more days left in the Quick Lessons sale, 50% off. QLP 50, the Beato book, 700-page PDF. RB 626, 60% off that. If you don't have the theory stuff, that's got everything in. It's got all the chord voicings you need, all the scale fingerings, everything you need. And the ear training course is 40% off. Same thing, RB 626. You guys are amazing. Check out my new video if you haven't seen it. The most complex pop song of all time. There's 22 modulations, I believe, in there. You guys are awesome. We'll talk to you later. See ya. Have a great weekend.